Okay, thanks, Dean. Appreciate it. So I'm Dan Goodman, and I'm with EarlyBird Feed and Fertilizer. And some of you know us, being here local, and some of you maybe aren't familiar with us. So I'm going to give you a quick overview of who we are, where we came from, some of our core beliefs and values, and then how we're going to work with AgriEnergy to be the storage, blending, manufacturing facility to support their customers and dealers both. So try to give that overview for you. This is our location just down the road in Goodfield. We have fertilizer and feed manufacturing on site there in Goodfield. Our core beliefs and values, number one is faith. My father started the business 56 years ago, and I think that we start with faith because it's really important for us as individuals, and we want to instill that in our employees and our customers, that comes first for us in our daily toil. So faith, family, really important. I got to work in the corporate environment for a little bit. I'll go through that, and I'm really thankful that I can work at a place where faith and family are at the top of the list when it comes to our work. Integrity is really important in a fertilizer business. I mean, my father taught me that you can't tell what's coming out of the back of a sprayer or a spreader. You have to trust the people that you're buying it from and that are applying it for you, that they're doing it right. So integrity is really, really important when it comes to fertilizer, chemicals, amendments, biology. You can't tell what's in the jug, right? So you got to trust the people that you're buying it from. Service and excellence are something that we built the business on, and it's seasonal work, it's hard work, but it's very fulfilling. I don't think I'd want to be involved in anything else. So we are split into two divisions. Our EarlyBird Nutrition is our feed division, and EarlyBird Agronomy is what we're talking about here with AgriEnergy and supporting them. So we do have two divisions. We're located right here between Peoria and Bloomington on Interstate 74. A little bit about myself. I was born into the business. My father started it 56 years ago. I think this is the closest picture we could find to his first application, post-merger application machine. I think it's called a Han. Is that right, Dad? A Han sprayer. He got to ride it like a motorcycle with the chain drive right there between his legs, and the engine sitting right on top of the engine, spraying the first pesticides that were available to manage some pests and weeds and stuff. So this is kind of a representation of the very first spreader that we had. Spread and dry fertilizer is how it started. When I started working at the plant before I could drive. He needed help checking bills, so he put me in an office checking bills. But as soon as I could drive, I was put on a John Deere 6000 to spray. I wasn't the best applicator. I can barely move them around a lot today. Thank goodness we got some really good young applicators that understand machinery, but it was never my forte. But the best I can do is get them out of the way if I got to get a load out real early in the morning and nobody's there to move it for me. So I went to University of Illinois to study agronomy, plant and soil science. Graduated and had the opportunity to go work for a company called SEBA in northeast Nebraska. And in Nebraska, I found out there's a difference between dry land and irrigated. You know, so Midwesterner, I just thought the good Lord gave you enough rain and you just worked with it, right? But out in Nebraska, I was introduced to irrigation for the first time. Went through a SEBA-Sandoz merger and came out of that as Novartis and was able to go to Idaho. Spent some time in Idaho as a tech rep out there covering the Pacific Northwest. 72 different crops grown in the Treasure Valley of Idaho. So man, no one can be an expert on 72 different crops. So it was the first time I was experienced in going into dealerships, calling on distributors where they had fieldmen that were potato specialists and sugar beet specialists and some of the tree crops and vine crops, the permanent crops that were grown out there. So very, very interesting. Enjoyed my time out there. We acquired Merck at the time. So abamectin came on board to Novartis at the time that I was out there, went through another merger. And then the last merger I got to go through was the Novartis-Zeneca merger, and we exited that as Syngenta. So at this point in my career, I was in Kentucky and Indiana, and was starting to figure out that the corporate world, maybe with all those moves and all those changes, maybe wasn't the best place for me long term. And we had just started, my wife and I had just started our family, and was really blessed to be able to come back to the family-owned business here in Goodfield. So really appreciate that opportunity. When I got back, things looked a little different as far as applicators go. Like I said, thankful that we have a crew that is talented in that application space, because it truly is a skill and an art to be able to drive these machines all day and do a great job, which they do. This is what we look like from the road. Again, some of you are familiar with it, so I apologize for showing you something you already know, but for the people that don't know us, this is our location. We started on 7 acres, and we've had to grow on 7 acres. We haven't really picked up, so there's kind of lean-tos on top of lean-tos. You know, you grow and you stick a lean-to on something, and then you outgrow that and you stick a lean-to on the lean-to. We have a feed mill there. We have the hoop storage where we can hold a couple barges of fertilizer and a little bit down the middle. The tank farm we're going to talk about, because that's the space we're creating for AgriEnergy. We have an on-site shop, and there's an organic elevator across the road. So as things change, you know, that's been an eye-opener for us too, as our customers have transitioned to some organic acres, and we've had to adjust in order to meet their desires and needs. So we are a liquid fertilizer plant. We manufacture liquid fertilizer on site. There is an anhydrous ammonia tank. It's just right there. This anhydrous ammonia tank, we don't even have the capability of filling tanks. We don't really recommend a lot of direct applied anhydrous ammonia. That anhydrous ammonia is there for reaction in the fertilizer mixing vessel to react phosphoric acid with anhydrous. So that's really the only reason we have anhydrous on our fertilizer lot, is to react with phosphoric acid. Real quick, just to give you an overview of our nutrition, our feed sales. We've got a great team of nutrition experts, feed salespeople, manufacturing facilities. We really specialize in show feed, whether it's show cattle, show hogs, goats, lambs. Kind of the specialty feeds is where we found our niche to survive in the feed industry. We make our own brand of show feeds, but we do handle a lot of other brands. So one of our strengths is our salespeople can go on the farm, solve solutions, and they have all these different brands to pick from. We're not telling them you have to sell EarlyBird, you have to sell ShowRite or Sunglow. If there's an Umbarger product or a Hubbard product or a Rival or a Linder product that fits better, then they can sell those products. And that kind of bleeds over into our agronomy too. We feel that way about our agronomy recommendations. We're not here to just sell you potash and DAP. We really want to look at your soil test, fix the pH first and foremost, talk about calcium, talk about the macro and micronutrients, and then I think part of the reason we're partnering with AgriEnergy is we want to talk to them about biology. And we want to do a blend of both that conventional thought, because I think there's some good thoughts in there if done right, but we need experts on biology, and that's where AgriEnergy, I think, brings a really valuable resource to us. If you're in the show circuit, you've probably heard of us, hopefully, but we get around. I think we sell feed in around 27 different states, and if you're at the state, whether it's a state fair or, you know, showing is a year-round sport now that the youth are involved in. So there's every weekend you can go show pigs or cattle or something if you want to keep busy. But we've had a lot of success, and that's just a function of our, not only the quality and freshness of our feed and the specific formulations for show, but our people that make really good recommendations. It's louder than I thought it'd be, but this is kind of, I just put this in there because it's symbolic of how EarlyBird attacks problems. You know, how do you get a lot of molasses onto a feed? People want to sell you maybe a molasses blender that's got load cells on it. It's connected to a computer, and you know it's supposed to be the best way ever to apply molasses. We thought that measuring it out volumetrically and applying it to the feed only as it enters the horizontal blender and then disperses in the blender, we thought was a great way to do it. Simpler maybe than some other things out there, but very highly effective. So that's, I think, a great example of how we tackle problems. Our mills are kind of a niche mill. It's not a huge blend tower. If you're feeding millions of pigs or chickens or turkeys, you probably got a feed mill that's designed to put out semi-load after semi-load after semi-load of the exact same blend. That's not necessarily what ours are. We're more of a boutique mill or a niche mill where we can make small batches with lots and lots of ingredients. And a lot of times the ingredients are things people don't want to handle, like sugar beet shreds and cottonseed hulls, so things that are fluffy, corn cobs, ground up corn cobs. They're hard to handle, but in the show arena, they fill the animal out correctly, and they give the look that's desired by the judge in order to win the show. We expanded in Western Illinois, a town called Roseville. We built a small mill there, and have a small mill in Roseville, Illinois. We also expanded west of Jacksonville. We have a mill in Chapin, same type of mill in Western Illinois, in Chapin, Illinois. We had a need for pelleted feed, so we found a small pellet mill in Farmersville, Illinois that we run. And then we've also got a location in Utica coming. We're going to build a small warehouse here on a plot of land. So in most cases where we've expanded, there's been cooperatives or mainly cooperatives that have gotten out of the feed business. They just don't want to be in it anymore. So we've taken that existing business and grown it when we expanded. On the agronomy side, I just want to run through really quickly kind of our core philosophies, because I think they marry really well with some of the philosophies of AgriEnergy, and you can hopefully see why there's such, I think, a good partnership and a synergism between the two organizations. So we have fertilizer, crop protection, seed, and aerial. And I really kind of, the foundations of EarlyBird's fertility recommendations kind of are based on what Ralph Goodman and Ron Wiegand, the way they kind of looked at things as they started the business and grew the business. So what's interesting is I had a conversation with my father, so we had this same meeting in Richmond, Indiana on Tuesday, and I sat down with him in his office yesterday and I said, you really should come and listen to the story of AgriEnergy and how it started, and talked to Herman in Warsaw, and he applied all this and didn't get what he wanted and looked at biology, and I said, it's really interesting. He said, and my father Ralph yesterday says, yeah, well, when I talked to Herman in Warsaw, I kind of got the same thing. I said, wait a second, you talked to Herman in Warsaw? He's like, yeah, I saw them in dinner or lunch, and he said he told me about the biology he was trying to create on the farm and with the residue. And he said, Ralph, he said, I chop the corn stalks, and if they're not the right size, I go out and I chop them again. And if they're still not the right size, I chop them a third time. And he says, just like the coffee you're drinking there, if you put a cube of sugar in there versus powdered sugar, which one's going to melt first? So he was trying to create that biology with all this corn residue. And so this is kind of, again, it was interesting. I called Dean and told him that story, and it's kind of interesting that we had our paths kind of crossed a long, long time ago. But that's why I think our foundations of our recommendations are so similar. So another thing that my father always told me is that he started it with dry fertilizer, but he just could not figure it out. And if you have ever truly tried to pan test a blend of dry fertilizer coming out of the back of a spreader, and you've ever been satisfied with it, talk to me after the meeting, because I need to know the secret. And then you start doing the math as you're standing out there looking at these pans, trying to figure out how the world you're going to get it accurate. And then you start doing the math that this blend costs $700 a ton. Let's run the spreader one more time over these pans, and then run the spreader one more time over these pans, and it is the most frustrating thing. And I can understand where he was at back in the early 70s, late 60s, trying to figure this out. Because physics do not allow a ping pong ball and a golf ball to be thrown the same distance when the same force is applied. It's physically impossible. So the point where he got to, where he decided there had to be a better way, was he had blended a buggy full of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium for top dressing wheat. And he pulled it out, he blended it himself, he mixed it himself, he mixed it at the appropriate time, he loaded it into a buggy, and he pulled it out to the field. And about a half hour later, the customer called and said, Ralph, the buggy, the wheel fell off. It's not running. He said, okay, I'll be right out. He pulled a brand new buggy out there, emptied it right up against it, and he started shoveling it off into the other buggy. And he shoveled through nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. Nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. Nitrogen, phosphorus. He shoveled the whole thing over, and he said, there is no way this is going to be right for this customer. I did everything I was supposed to, and from the time I pulled it out there, bouncing across the road to this guy who was a local, you didn't pull it very far, did you, Dad? 10 miles? And it had separated. And so that's when we started looking at other ways to apply nutrients in a uniform fashion. So today we use suspension fertilizers. And suspension fertilizers truly are a dry fertilizer. It's dry fertilizer suspended in a liquid form. So there's nothing magical about that. Just because it's liquid, boy, that's why it's going to be better for your farm. It's going to be better for your farm because every drop's the same analysis, and we can do really cool things like band it. So we band liquid suspension fertilizers on 30-inch centers, and we create a zone of fertility in the soil that prevents phosphorus and potassium from being tied up. That's how we think we can do it different and better. So we create this zone of really high concentrated nutrients. The reason we recommend starter fertilizers, because starter fertilizer, whether it be in furrow or some other spot, is the bridge between early nutrition and later season nutrition. So starter fertilizer, we think, can feed a young plant the nutrients that it needs in a very efficient form. And then this band that we've placed out here the fall before can feed the plant for the rest of the year. So that's kind of our philosophy on fertility. What I'm really excited about is we always knew this part was also important, but we never had really good solutions, and I don't think we had the comfort to recommend the biological part of the equation. And with some of our customers transitioning to organic, and Eric Wiegand is here with us today too. Eric is Ron's son, so Ron's been with us for 50 plus years, almost 55 now. So you get the second generation of myself and Eric, both of our fathers, started and built the business to where it is and kind of instilled those base principles in us. So we really think that it was an eye-opener for us when our customers transitioned to organic. We had the choice of either trying to find something to sell them and help them with to increase their production, or go find a new acre to sell our conventional fertilizer and pesticides on. And we opted to try to find something that we could learn with them, recommend to them, increase their productivity and their profitability. And I think this is where AgriEnergy is really going to help us, is how can we get the maximum amount of bacteria, really long word that really is just almost a single cell organism, fungi, 5,000 pounds, protozoa, 200 pounds, algae. How can we get the maximum amount of life in the soil? What things can we do? You know, we focused on trying to get the pH right. We focused on trying to get the nutrients that we already had. But like Dean said, what if we could make it even better than what would naturally occur? What if we could add some amendments, add some actually biology to the soil to really take that to the next step? So for us, when we do an organic plot, you know, our top variety, I think 2 years ago, Eric, was it 285? 278?
Somewhere close to that.
Yeah. So 2 years ago, our organic variety plot, the top number was 278. We have a lot of conventional farmers that are doing a really great job, and their whole farm, they have fields that have averaged 280 plus. But it's interesting to me that the guy that can use no conventional methods gets about the same number as the guy that uses all conventional methods. And so suddenly we think, man, the combination of the two is really where the secret lies. Really where we're going to take the next step in productivity and profitability is when we take the best of both worlds. And I know that some are going to operate only in the organic side, that's fine. There's economic incentive to do that, we want to help you do it. There'll be some that are resistant to change and only want to operate in the commercial side with traditional chemistries and nutrients, that's fine. We'll make the best recommendations we can. But for those who are really looking for the next step, I think the blend of those two, taking the best of both worlds, is going to get us to those higher yields that are going to be required to really stay in business in a really competitive commodity market. One thing we think lime is really important. A lot of dealers, I'm shocked when we pick up new customers that the lime is so out of whack, that the calcium is so out of whack. But really the reason is people don't make much money on lime. It's expensive to handle, it takes a big crew, there's not a lot of revenue. So a lot of fertilizer dealers don't talk to you about lime. It's not really important. What you really need is DAP and potash. You know, the stuff I make money on, that's what you really need. But lime, again, my father and Eric's father, Ron, the first thing they told us is always tell the farmer the first money spent should be on getting his pH correct and then selling fertilizer. Because you can sell all fertilizer in the world, and if his pH isn't right, it's not gonna be very efficient. It's not the right thing to do. And so we focus on lime. We like liming every 2 years. Some people like every 4 years and go out there and let the pH go down and then pour on a mountain of lime every 4 years. We really like to keep that pH as close to what we think is perfect for our area as 6-8. And we think every 2 years is an ideal way to manage that lime. And liming is not that hard. It's kind of a math equation. So why wait 4 years and have a test show up that all of a sudden you have to spring into action to quote unquote fix it? We know that the nitrogen we apply reduces or increases the amount of lime. We can do a math equation. We kind of know based on the parent material of the soil and the natural weathering what the pH is going to do. So be proactive when you apply lime, not reactive when you get your report card and be like, man, I really got to fix this. I'm getting an F in that class, got to fix that. You knew it was coming. Let's be more proactive. So how's this going to work with EarlyBird and AgriEnergy? I just want to give a quick overview of that. We have some what we call them our horizontals, but these are fiberglass lined beer tanks. There used to be a big Pabst Blue Ribbon brewery in Peoria. As a young kid, you come down the hill into Peoria, you could smell the brewery, you could smell the fermenting corn. That's gone nowadays, but when that brewery closed, we purchased their beer tanks that they stored beer in. They were glass lined. So we have 6 of them that are horizontal. We've cut them open, got inside of them, sandblasted them clean, and we're going to set those up as verticals, and that's going to create the dike space we need for the AgriEnergy products. So not only those 6, but we've got some poly tanks that are available, a couple of tanks here that are available for AgriEnergy products, and then we're going to increase our starter line to accommodate some starters, some low salt starters that AgriEnergy really wants to have at their disposal. So we're going to set these tanks up. They're getting ready to get set up next week, I think. Create that dike space, create a loadout for the 6 or 7 AgriEnergy trailers that are going to be loaded, compartment trailers that we're going to be able to lid and load for them. And we'll have the products like the fish and the humics and all the products, many of the products that you're used to ordering through AgriEnergy, you'll have access to through AgriEnergy at our facility. So that's kind of the plan. I don't know why I throw this in the end. We do have a fertilizer plant in Missouri. Life's all about people. It's not the facility that is why we have customers. The reason we have customers is because of our people. And it was just an opportunity. I met Jerry Steiger in Idaho when I worked with Novartis out there. And he was raised on a dairy farm in Springfield, Missouri. He went to work for Scott's company, calling on Walmart, and then Walmart grabbed him. He ended up as the CFO of Walmart Automotive, and his last job at Walmart was in their AI tech. So they were trying to anticipate when you walked in what you were going to buy before you got there. So weird why they want to know that. But really smart guy, degree in chemistry and agronomy. And his wife called me and said, you got to get Jerry out of the corporate office. It's killing him. We have 3 young girls. We want to get back home to the dairy farm. Our parents are both from there. Can we work something out? And we worked something out where we found a fertilizer plant in southwest Missouri. It's a dry fertilizer plant, so we're not doing it quite the same way we wanted to, but we'll get there eventually. But if you're ever in that neck of the woods, Jerry is a really, really interesting individual, smart, hard worker, and so that's why we're in southwest Missouri. So appreciate it. Real quick overview. Hopefully it didn't take too much time, but that's why we're partnering with AgriEnergy. We really look forward to this spring and being busy filling trucks and supplying you with the products that you need. So thank you very much.